It now gives me a great pleasure to introduce the class speaker. And if you're going to represent this class, you realize you are accepting a responsibility, you're accepting a great privilege, and you must have a strong voice. And Ms. Lela Akiashvili certainly does that. Lela, will you please join me on the stage? And folks, would you help me welcome her to the podium?
Dean Wells, members of faculty and staff, distinguished guests, proud parents and family members, fellow Fulbrighters, and above all, class of 2018. Howdy. Howdy. I would like to begin by thanking you all for letting me stand on this stage today and live my dream. When I was preparing for this speech, I asked many people for advice. The most common response I received was to listen to my inner voice, get on stage, and speak from my heart. Well, right now my heart is beating so fast it might actually run away from my body. And the only sentence I hear from my inner voice is, please don't fall off the stage. So I'd better stick to the script. To understand the magnitude of what standing on the stage means to me, allow me to tell you just a little bit about myself. I come from the country of Georgia, a beautiful country, which I love with every fiber of my being. However, for many years, I did not consider myself lucky for being born there. I didn't consider myself lucky to be born there because I had to live through 2 wars, through poverty, through struggle, and through childhood with no electricity or hot water. While sitting bundled in a coat in my unheated middle school classroom, I could never imagine that 15 years later, as a Fulbright scholar, I will be delivering this speech to the most prestigious school in the world. As I must shamefully admit that I knew nothing about Texas A&M before coming here, my judgment of the Bush School is remarkably objective. When Fulbright offered me the chance to study at this university, I started my research. This process led me to an Aggie from my hometown who graduated from the Bush School 14 years earlier. Later, I learned that he was the only Aggie in Georgia at the time, so I got lucky. When we met, he started a conversation by saying, "So, you are going to the Aggie land, huh?" I replied, "Nope, that's not the name. The city is called College Station. Did you go to different Texas A&M?" He laughed hard and explained the meaning of the word Aggie. Even though I didn't realize the significance of it at the time, I right away knew it was an important word. So I think I didn't hear half of his advice, just repeating word Aggie in my head so that it would stick. Upon arrival to College Station, I wanted to mention it at an appropriate time, so that I can show that I knew what Aggie was. Little did I know that 2 years later, not only I would know the meaning of this word, but I would myself become an Aggie for life, loyal to these values until I breathed my last breath. I'm not sure how it happened, but Bush School did its own magic on me. Today, with a pretty high statistical significance, I can say that most likely this is the last time we all are in the same room. This makes me incredibly sad, but also incredibly proud of the distance that we've traveled. We have come all the way from Dr. Kerr's, "You're not smart enough for anybody to care what you think," to her asking at the end of the semester, "What do you think of this topic?" And we were like, "Who, me?" During my first grad school class, Dr. Paulberg told us we would know we were becoming smarter when instead of blindly arguing our position, we would start asking the opposing party to tell us more, to better understand where they stand. Right after that class, I had a discussion with Dr. Hildebrand, who so naturally used the phrase, "tell me more," that I immediately knew she was really smart. I'm sure each of you have similar memories from the Bush School. And now, 2 years, about 500 sleepless nights, and about 700 cups of coffee later, we are ready for the real world. But let me tell you something that might ease your fear of the real world. We are already in it. We have been in the real world for the past 2 years and even before. This school did not merely give us tools for becoming public servants. This school has already made us public servants. And you have proved it over and over again, in the class and outside the classroom, with hundreds of hours of public service. You have already proven that you are the everyday heroes that this world so desperately needs. You have served for benefits of others without seeking any recognition for yourselves. This world already has superheroes like Superman and Wonder Woman, who suspiciously enough appear only when somebody is making a movie. Now, this world needs us. Public servants who are so passionate about what they do that they can change the world. For me, the real world started when I was 8 or 9, as I was responsible for taking care of my little brother and sister after school before our parents came home from work. Though I was not always happy with this arrangement, this experience ultimately taught me to unconditionally care for others and to find joy in their happiness. Since then, caring for others has become my passion and the driving force of my life. My fervent desire for social justice took me to the law school, and my love for public service brought me to the Bush School. This unconditional desire to help others led me to work with war-affected communities in my country for 7 years. And for all those sleepless nights and hours of unpaid work, protecting women's rights, helping victims of the war, and educating youth in rural areas, I have received the biggest reward possible. True and honest thank yous from people whose lives I've touched. My country has come a long way in the past decade. It has become one of the safest countries in the world, eliminated corruption, created liberal and free market-oriented economic policies strengthened by the rule of law, is the largest non-member contributor to NATO, successfully implementing the association agreement with the European Union, and is named as one of the top touristic destinations in the world. And while my family and many others are doing just fine now, 20% of my country is still occupied. Now, more than ever, it needs public servants like us. I'm needed in Georgia, but we are needed everywhere. So go out there, embrace your superpower of public service, and be the everyday heroes that the world needs. While doing so, please always remember that those whose voices are not heard need you the most. We are so privileged to stand here today. While 94% of the world's population does not have any college education at all, and 700 million people, primarily women, cannot read, we have received a first-class education from this first-class school. Ironically, for the last 2 years, we have also been constantly complaining about how much we have to read. As you become more and more successful in life, please identify yourselves not only with the rich and powerful, but with the weak and poor. Do not assume that everybody always has enough money to buy a lunch or take a cab. I myself have been embarrassed by not having enough change in my pocket to take a bus or buy a school textbook. Later, I worked with people who, as a result of war, has lost everything: home, family, and hope. But I also have seen how these same people were ready to share their last piece of bread with others and their shelter with strangers. And that is what I call humanity. I challenge you to always go beyond your comfort zone, to look for those who are not seen and who are not heard. Often, it's not their choice to be that way. Each of them is unique, and each of them has something to give. And if we do so, or when we do so, we will become the true leaders who can change this world for better. I want to finish by reading a note from one of the people who inspired me the most at the Bush School. And I quote, "Dear Lela, I so enjoyed meeting you while on my visit at A&M. You brought great happiness to me that day. You taught me that you should always take opportunities that come your way, and most importantly, to always be nice. I was truly touched by your kind words, and I wish you all the best during your time at A&M at the Bush School. I love you and all of the students at the Bush School. With every good wish, Barbara Bush." From now on, the Bush School is our home, no matter where we go. And the two people whose namesake we proudly carry made it this way. They have been our inspiration from day one and have continued to inspire us with their humbleness and kindness throughout our time. While they clearly set a very high bar, our job is to strive to be the kind of public servants who would make them proud. After all, we are their legacy. It is our responsibility to do everything in our power to meet their expectations. Thank you again for allowing me to stand here today. It would not be possible without you. And for you, it would not be possible without those who sit next to you today. Without your fellow Bushes, without your professors and mentors, without each and every staff member of the Bush School, without your friends, and without your family. I will be forever grateful to each of you for changing my life. And I hope you will not mind if I name one person for whom I'm the most grateful. A man who was brave enough to follow me to the other side of the globe, who empowers me as a woman, who empowers me as a person, who believes in me the most, and who was crazy enough to marry me. I could not have done it without you, my love. Thank you.